word to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying wren, fast vertical stems of professors from Penn watching eagles eating prey like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia, Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
Are you trying to seduce me, Mr. Roseman?
That should be a drop for you. We should take away the dirt of the earth drop and let's turn the camera.
You got it, Zach.
Yes. Yeah. Let's turn the camera on to the Athletics Red Star reporter.
Hello, everybody. What a delight to hear Marissa's voice. And welcome to Birds with Friends. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman, Kent behind the glass. Zach, you're looking sharp as always. You got your Johnny Cash look. What a handsome man in black. How are you?
What's the Johnny Cash look? And I'm doing great. Excited for this pod.
You're in black. That's all.
Yeah.
Sharp dressed man in black. I don't know.
Thank you. Doing well. Rushed over here. 76 was backed up, but I apologize that we're late. It's my fault, but excited to catch up here.
I mean, the audio listeners have no idea that we're late.
True, but we also have live viewers here, including Jim McHugh. What's up, Jim?
Now, is it Jim McHugh or is it Hugh McJim?
It's Jim McHugh.
Okay.
Met him last year at the game.
And we met AJ today. Was that his name?
Correct. Yeah.
Devoted listener thinks we could go even longer, but he also thinks that you need to give it to me a little bit more, which I agree with.
And then, yeah, and shout out to Alexa. I spoke to her on the way to work today. A big fan as well. So shout out to her.
Fair enough. We had a practice today. 2 days in a row. Well, 2 practices in a row of padded practice. We had a nice session to view today. Good weather. 2 different sessions of offensive line, defensive line, one-on-one. So, that got me going. Jalen Hurts, pretty sharp again. We had a couple minor injuries for the first time of camp. And I suppose we might as well kick things off by sending it to Johnny Cash, the Stone Cold Newsman himself, Zach Berman. How are you?
Not much by way of hard news at the NovaCare complex. The injury report going into practice stayed the same. Coming out of practice remains a bigger question. Nakobe Dean left practice early. We will get to that. And James Bradbury also was tended to. I would say neither injury appears serious considering neither player went inside, but certainly something we will monitor as they return to practice tomorrow. That is all from practice field. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Nothing from Nick today?
Not as far as news. I mean, there's topics we can discuss. He was excited to answer your question about interacting with Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. He gave Gannon a call. Gannon did not answer.
Yeah, how about this? He said he gave Gannon a call.
I think that was intentional.
And he didn't get an answer back. He didn't even like hear back. Not even a text back from my.
I'm big on if I can't answer the phone, always like I'll send the text back. Sorry, tied up.
Absolutely.
Let me try it back another time. Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to respond to a text. I would say if you are busy and you can't respond to a text, you'll circle back eventually, but you don't have to respond right away. I feel like if you miss a call, then you do sort of owe a text back.
Yes, I would agree with that. If you miss the call, you owe the text back. Correct. You don't have to call back. Right? I mean, people's times are all over the place, right? There's a time difference, the schedule. There's a lot. Sometimes with coaches, for instance, sometimes with coaches, the best time for them to call one way or the other is on their way to work or their way home from work. So the time difference sometimes affects that.
Do you think when Jonathan Gannon didn't answer, he then dialed up Vic Fangio?
Do I think Nick did?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh.
I don't.
Okay.
But no, he enjoyed your question about that. That was
so
that was
specific about who asks the question.
I
Meanwhile,
think
you elicited the best response of training camp thus far, but we will get to that later.
I did?
Not today, but a question you asked led to the best answer of training camp thus far. We'll get to that.
I'm curious. I mean, not to butter you up here, but I always listen. I always listen back to the interviews that I missed, or I shouldn't say that I missed, to set the scene for our audience. At training camp, there's the podium where players are up there and they're talking on the podium. Then there's also a mix zone, if you will, players who have a phalanx.
During the season, we're in the locker room every day. We can sort of talk to whoever we want. We can make our way around. You can look for sort of one-on-ones. You have a little bit more conversation. During training camp, the rules changed post-COVID, and now everybody is brought to us. It's sort of like a gaggle type deal. And so, yes, there's the podium, but then there's also a little space behind. But even that is a little bit, it's more of a pack mentality.
Yes, but they happen at the same time. So invariably, you have to make a choice. And
so we are fortunate to have two of us so that we can sort of, spread out a little bit.
But the Eagles typically have a camera at all these interviews, and then they post them later. So I always go back to listen through to what I miss. And some of the big quotes from the summer, including Jalen Carter saying that his goal is to win Defensive Player of the Year, came from a Bo Wolf question.
I didn't realize that came from.
Yeah. What's that?
I said I'm working for everybody,
Yeah.
On behalf of the common fan.
And some other, I believe the Landon Dickerson state quote came from your question too. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yes. So some of the, I mean, that was the lead of the Inquirer yesterday. So some of these are coming from astute Bo Wolf questions. They know who they're speaking.
And then of course they then go on to feature nowhere in my own writing.
Save that for another day.
Not what I'm here for. All right. No. Zach, I got a bit of a game for us to play today. It's less of a game and more of a conversation structure here, okay? I've got 12 topics, and I want you to tell me whether I'm right or wrong on these topics. Flight or long bill? Okay. Flight is right. Long bill is wrong. It's a bit of a strange pun. I think we can agree. But the rules,
as opposed to all the other puns,
are the rules of the show.
Okay.
I'm going to let you pick 1 to 12. Where would you like to start? We're gonna bop around because otherwise it would be in a funky order.
Yeah. 5.
5, nice.
It's a throwback to our
nice job. 5 is not a great place to start, but that's okay. 5 is, do you think my back will ever not hurt again? Is this just the rest of my life? Now, to fill people in, playing a little golf, playing a little softball, went to Sesame Place on Saturday with the family, went on some rides with Casey. We did a little roller coaster. We did the one where you just go straight up and then you drop down and then it stops and then you drop and it stops and drop and it stops and those. And then I woke up Sunday morning in just excruciating back pain. Could not get out of bed for a half an hour, just sharp pains. Since then, I've been taking some Aleve, mixing in a little Advil and Tylenol. That sharpness has not returned. But now I've just got like nagging lower back pain. Sometimes it's lower left, sometimes it's lower right. The other night I had to sleep in Jane's bed because she was not feeling well. Woke up, that was the whole disaster on the side of my back. Is this just me for the rest of my life?
I would like to say no.
Are any cures?
And I assume the answer is no. The one concern I have is that being a sports fan and covering professional sports, when a player has a back injury, it always seems to be a lingering one.
Big red flag.
Right? It's
yeah,
never.
You do not want somebody with a back injury.
Yeah, there are other injuries that heal. The back injury is one that it's always there.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's always simmering just below the surface. Yes,
but I would recommend. I've never seen a chiropractor. I know chiropractors are controversial in some circles, but I would go to a chiropractor. That could help. Or a massage, a sports massage, right? That could help. But the medicine's not working. I imagine time will do its
I think the
duty.
medicine's been a little bit helpful, but yeah.
The thing about a back is there's no way of resting a back, right?
Picking
You're
up the
always
kids. Yeah, absolutely.
The only way you're resting a back is if you're lying flat. So actually, when I think about that, I think of Steve Nash when he was taken out of games. He didn't sit. He always had to lie because of his back injury. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
leg.
We're
He
getting
had the leg.
some advice on the side. Stretch the hammies. Thank you, cousin
The
Grace.
hip bone's connected to the everything's
now
connected.
Rachel's gone through some back issues in the past, so she has this lower back like thing that goes on your chair that you're supposed to wear. I've taken that. She showed me some stretches. Should I be are we doing hot cold therapy? I don't know. I'll take whatever advice people have. I'm willing to throw the kitchen sink at this bad boy.
Okay.
And sorry that's where we started.
No, that's a good. I like this game. Shield played this game with us one time. I thought it was a great game.
Well, his were just topics. I'm framing it as flight or long bill, so it's obviously a different game.
So yours are better. Yes.
Okay. So you're saying long bill, my back will not always be this painful.
Yes, it won't always be this painful.
Okay. Where would you like to go next?
So I went with Jalen Rose. Let's go to Chris Webber. Let's go 4.
4. Okay, we're going right to my favorite topic here. The best answer, the most interesting answer I have heard all camp long happened on Sunday when you, the encyclopedic reporter that you are, circled back to Jordan Davis. He said, last year, you told us that the best thing you'd eaten in Philadelphia, loves the food, was a cannoli.
He and I both.
A year later, what's the best thing you've eaten? He said, great question, which was true.
I don't think he said great question. Did he say the great question?
I think he said great question. I could be wrong.
I know he was thinking about it. I know where you're going with this.
He thought about it for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, the best thing is Angelo's.
I'm with him there.
And then he mentioned a food truck in Old City. But in his Angelo's answer,
hibachi food truck.
A hibachi food truck, yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious how that works out.
He, in the Angelo's answer, he said, yeah, actually I went there the other day with and he sort of paused and he said, with one of my partners. Flight or long bill, Jordan Davis is embroiled in some kind of big love situation.
Care to explain big love situation?
I mean,
that could be taken a lot of directions.
Is this a polyamorous situation?
I'm going to defer to you here. I don't...
He said, I went with one of my partners.
Yeah, it could be a business partner. It could be
lots of different things.
Yeah, it could be a tennis partner, a yoga partner.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. I think it's worthy of a follow-up question.
Yeah, bad job by all of us because we were all thinking it and none of us asked.
Yeah,
so
maybe a defensive line mate, right? One of his partners on the D line.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be surprised if that was the answer. I think he probably would have been more specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a teammate in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a throuple situation. We don't know. It could just be, he's got they're not connected. They're just different strands. I don't know. He's a young man. He's living life. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm deferring on this one. I don't have enough information, and far be it for me to be presumptuous about what he does on his free time.
Okay. I'll go to you next.
What's your answer there? What do you think?
I think he was being purposefully non-specific in saying partner to not tie himself down.
Yeah. All titles are a big deal, right? So,
but he could have just said a friend, and so for him to say partner is really what perked my ears up.
Is it like a Southern thing? Friends of partner. Hey, partner, that kind of thing.
Like he moseyed into the saloon and said, "How you doing, old partner?" Like, kicked up his spurs.
Some people are saying partner means friend. Yeah. There's
Howdy,
a lot. I mean, you've never looked at the.
Gonna get yourself a cheese steak.
You've never lived in Athens, Georgia before, man, or Charlotte. Although you do like a Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never lived in Charlotte. I've been to Charlotte
Yeah.
many times.
Yes.
And
You got a
lived in
buddy in Charlotte,
Greensboro,
or
lived in Winston-Salem.
yeah,
What?
there's a bar you go to. What's it? When we were in Charlotte last time, there was a bar you went to. You know a bar owner down there. Is that right?
Oh, it's a brewery, Zach.
A
Resident culture.
brewery.
Everybody knows that.
Okay.
They've got 2 locations now. They've
Probably
expanded.
the Birds with Friends bump.
Must be. Okay. Where would you like to go next? I will tell you, Zach, that probably the ones that you would rather talk about are more in the like 7
Yeah.
through 11 range.
Honestly, I'm enjoying this. I'm happy to go whatever direction you decide. Let's go with let's go AJ Brown. Let's go 11.
11. Okay. You spoke to Marcus Mariota after practice today.
Among other people. Yep.
Yeah, he was on the podium. I actually thought this was maybe his best day of practice, but I did not watch 7-on-7s. You said that he had some quite off target throws on number 7. Flight or long, Bill? The Eagles are regretting their decision to sign Marcus Mariota as their backup quarterback.
Long Bill. I think that's an overreaction.
Okay.
I think you're signing Marcus Mariota because he's the experienced veteran. He started games. He's led a team to the playoffs. He knows people in the building. He can run. Like,
You think they signed him because he knows people in the building?
Well, I think he probably had advocates in the building. Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I know you're clinging to your theory that this is the Howie Roseman revenge.
I think that was definitely at least a part of the equation.
But no, I don't.
I think it was like I don't think it was like we're signing him because of this. It was more like Sirianni brings up Mariota as a guy that could sign, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because
I don't think that's what it is. I don't think they're regretting it. I don't think he's looked particularly good. He's been hot and cold. He admitted as much today. He said practice is the time for you to make mistakes so you don't make it in games. The 7-on-7 session, it wasn't particularly good. He had one throw to the right sideline that, he might have been throwing to like the security guards along the fence. It was nowhere near the intended target. So I don't think they're regretting it. Yeah, I think there's an acclimation process here. I like the signing. I think he's fine. But you brought the point that, or you said something before when Nick Sirianni says he's interested in Marcus Mariota and Howie Roseman's thinking about the draft. I do think sometimes with quarterbacks in particular, but with all players, right? You form an idea of them at some point, and it's hard to escape that idea. And so maybe there is some thought in that building, or when they think of Marcus Mariota, they think of the player they scouted coming out of Oregon, right? Nick brought up the example when they signed him. I remember going and putting him through a private workout when I was with the Chargers. I mean, that was in 2015. There's a lot that's happened then, and even still, like Trey Sermon came up today, and it came up. Oh, we love this guy coming out of the draft, right? I mean, there's been a whole year of football since then, and you hear that a lot when they sign someone. This is someone that we had interest in coming out, and there's always so sometimes you can. What's the form of bias? Is that an anchoring bias? I think it's called.
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes there can be anchoring bias, and that I see that often the case with quarterbacks. The example that comes to mind the most is I remember when the Eagles traded for Sam Bradford, and I made a few calls about him, and even in public comments, this pro day kept coming.
Everybody
up.
Loves that pro day.
This pro day, and I'm thinking like, man, this guy's been in the NFL for X amount of years now.
Right.
You're still talking about this pro day? So there can be anchoring bias, especially when you sign or acquire a quarterback.
I feel like it is my obligation to say that this is also your favorite way to evaluate players is
As I remember them in
You like
college.
the guys who were drafted high.
Yeah. Well, no, and I will add to that. I think that you need to consider why they failed, right?
I think that's well stated. Yeah.
But you also need to consider that maybe there were maybe there's talent there and there were circumstances that kept them in the way from succeeding. And sometimes it's just there was a bad evaluation on the player. The player's not as good as the draft stock. We see that more than in my case. But there are times when a player just goes to a bad situation, or a player had injuries and can return to the form that he was coming out of college. Yeah, I tend to think that those are good players to take chances on in the free agent market.
I think there are like different paths there. Like, I think there are also times when a guy having been a high draft pick means that we probably already have enough information. Like, would you rather have, Jared Davis or Christian Ellis as a linebacker, when like one guy was given every chance to succeed and didn't, versus another guy who fell through the cracks for like, you can explain why this guy never really got a shot, and now he could get a shot, right? Like, there are different, every situation is different.
Well, what's more likely, by the way?
Shrikely.
A player going into a bad situation. It's a bad scheme. It's a messed up building. There's a depth chart logjam, or a player that the entire league misses on, right? A player that like an undrafted guy or a 7th round pick who the entire league just misevaluated.
I think it depends. Like if it's if we're using Christian Ellis as an example, like, this is a guy who would have been starting from the bottom anyway and would have only been given, a very small shot to begin with. And so I think it's possible that a guy like that could be more than what people think he is because of whatever preconceived notions there were, versus I think it depends on the position. But if we're sticking to, I don't know why we need to be picking on Jared Davis, but like a guy who has been given chances, and it's not like him being at linebacker is super affected. Like, his ability to read what's happening on offense is super affected by the situations around him. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. There are probably lots of examples of both.
Yeah. Okay, another number here.
Following up on Mariota, interesting hypothetical posed by Elliot Shore-Parks before practice today.
Oh, I think I know this one.
I think it's okay to talk about. Like, if the absolute worst case scenario were to happen, well, I guess not the absolute worst case scenario, where life moves on. If the Eagles' worst case scenario were to happen, and Jalen Hurts were to suffer a significant injury in training camp, do you think the Eagles would move forward simply with Marcus Mariota as their starting quarterback, or would they canvass the league for a better option? And how much, if so, would they be willing to surrender?
Okay, that's not what I expect you to talk about. But no, I think they would go forward with Mariota. I don't know what you would get at this point otherwise, and I think Mariota is probably a better option.
Would you trade a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford?
No,
I think I would.
Because you think the team's Super Bowl ready right now, and you just need that guy.
If that were to happen right now, like with this specific roster, I don't know. I don't know if you're ready to go with
and you're the Vikings. You're the Vikings in 2017.
Yeah. It's not.
And that was the 14th pick. I don't know. I don't think that. I see Rohit says sign Nick Foles.
Yeah, we can knock on wood. This is these are things that everybody has to consider.
All right, that's an interesting one.
What do you think would be the most likely, if they didn't stick with Mariota? Who do you think would be the most likely backup plan? Rivers?
Yeah, probably call Rivers out of retirement. Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Trey
Lance? Niners probably aren't trading him to the Eagles, right?
No, not to the Eagles.
Yeah. Unless they really think he stinks.
Brady, right? Yeah. I actually think Philip Rivers is an interesting one there. The emergency Philip Rivers call. I don't know. I think it would be Mariota. Mariota's led a team to the playoffs. I see Matt Ryan in there. Okay,
What about Gardner Minshew?
maybe. I would rather have Mariota than Minshew. I think Mariota's better. The question that Elliot brought up to me,
Okay.
and again, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, is he's saying if you already know if you already know what you have in Carson Wentz. I'm so sorry, not Carson Wentz. Sorry, Freudian slip there.
Oh,
if you already know what you have in Jalen Hurts, right? Like,
now you're the one who's jinxed him.
No, why don't you give Marcus Mariota some reps with the first team during practice? Just because when he would play, he'd be with the first team. And my argument is that practice reps are too precious, right? There's not that many of them. Jalen needs all the reps he can get, and I think I hope ESP doesn't mind that we're talking about this. So I didn't ask him if we can bring it up, but the counter argument is like, does Jalen really need these reps? It would benefit the team more to get Mariota work with the ones in case Mariota has to go in there. I don't see it that way. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The reps are too valuable. It matters more that Jalen Hurts is as good as he can be than it does that Mariota could be ready. If he were thrown in, he would have practice reps during the week. I think maybe, during one-on-ones, it's nice to maybe cycle in Mariota getting to throw to A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, but otherwise I've got your back.
Quick question for you here. And again, I feel like I continue to promote the quarterback docu-series on Netflix. I bring it up every pod. But this was our first time talking to Marcus this summer, and I asked him about it because, of course, he was featured. And he said he did not watch it. He had friends and family that did, and they said good things about it, and he's real happy he did it because he thinks it kind of shows the life of a quarterback and takes you behind the scenes. And Netflix has a vast audience, and it's a way to bring this to people who might not necessarily know football. But I'm curious, if there was a documentary about you, would you watch it?
I don't think anybody would watch it.
You don't think so?
Why would anybody watch a documentary about me?
Oh, you're an interesting person. I think people would watch it.
Oh, here he is. Here he is complaining about his back again.
Would you watch? He said he doesn't like to watch himself. And I would absolutely watch. I would want to see how.
I would probably be curious to see what all that access led to, how they portrayed me.
Did you watch Jury Duty this summer?
We are like slowly making it's like our backup show right now. Like if we're putting something on before bed. So we're through just 2 episodes. 2.5.
Outstanding premise.
Yep, great premise.
Yeah.
It's like the old Joe Million, or like the old Joe Schmo, which was the fun show.
What's that?
That was like a reality show from, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago where everybody was an actor except for the Joe Schmo.
Oh, okay.
He didn't realize. Yeah.
It is the same premise. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I think I've talked about it before. I've always wanted to be on a jury. I'm
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I would love to be on a jury.
I do not want to be on a jury.
Oh, I would love to. That's maybe the only thing I'm patriotic about.
Well, I go to jury duty. I don't want to be picked.
Yeah, I want to be picked.
I'm too compassionate and well, that's a humble brag there. I'm not.
Compassionate.
I feel so bad for the person.
Zach, I think we really like you for this job. Tell us though, just if you had to pick one weakness about yourself, what would it be?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, sitting on a jury, it's like I feel bad. It's like someone told me the other day.
What a wonderful like part of the American experiment. You're you and all these 12 people, these strangers have to work together. Yeah,
true.
I feel like I would have thought that was right up your alley. It's romantic.
I like the concept of it, but
okay.
Yeah, I think there's better people for it than me.
Okay.
All right, another number. Allen Iverson. I should have gone Allen Iverson earlier. 3.
We heard something from Nick Sirianni today that we've now heard, I believe, 3 times. So, flight or long bill, Nick Sirianni does not remember that Trey Sermon only played 8 snaps last year and played in 1 game.
um. So Long Bill is wrong. That's
Yeah.
Long Bill. I think he conflates game rep with practice reps.
He keeps
Right?
talking about he got these reps in games. Like he played in one game,
Yeah, I think it's
and
to
it
him.
was
It's
in
just
like October.
yes. No, he has a very good memory with this stuff. Like he'll remember statistics for random players and things like that.
So do you
So
think he's trying to pull one over on us?
no, I think he's just conflating.
Okay.
He's answering the question. He's thinking about all the times that he saw Trey Sermon last year. Okay.
Now
And
I have to issue a mea culpa. He played in 2 games,
okay. He's thinking about all the times that he saw him.
but he did only play.
And sometimes he forgets that like we stopped seeing them after training camp. Right. So he's just assuming that we sometimes like see these practice snaps that he's referring to. And we don't. They picked up Trey Sermon after training camp last year. So literally, we never saw Trey Sermon in a meaningful practice until this summer. Now, some of us watched the Big Ten championship game and saw what he did to Northwestern, and it was pretty impressive. But I don't think he's trying to pull one over on us. But what do you make out of the Trey Sermon hype?
I think he's still the 5th running back.
So I think that he is their most tradable running back.
That's interesting.
He is
That's probably right.
I mean, maybe
But I mean, for
Gainwell.
what?
But yeah. Well,
He
I'm
was
saying they
waived
had this,
last year, and
yeah, but no one. But that's the thing. He's never been a free agent, right? So no one's had a chance to sign him. The Eagles claimed him off waivers. Okay.
yeah, but where were the Eagles on the claim? They were in the mid-20s, right? They were because they were coming off a playoff appearance. They were like 21 or 22, probably. That's not mid, but
okay. No, it was
right?
so they had the Saints trade that year. So what, 18, 19 thereabouts, right? Because they had the pick that they traded.
I mean, I don't think you're getting anything more than a similarly valued player or like a 7th round pick.
Oh, maybe you get like a 5th rounder. I mean, maybe
there's no way you would get it. If the Niners could have traded him last year, and when they cut him, and they just had to straight waive him.
True.
And he's had 2 carries since then.
No, I'm saying maybe he plays well this preseason. The Eagles are gassing him up. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they've got value for guys in the past.
Yeah.
A 5th's too high. A 5th's too high.
I can't imagine they would get more than even probably just a pick swap, like a 6th or a 7th or something.
Yeah. Him and Gainwell are the 2 most tradable running backs, I think, because they have years left on their deals. I mean, someone said
Swift's got a future 4.
Sure.
And
sure.
He's a player. Like
he's also in the last year of his deal, but yeah, that's true. Sermon has 2 years left.
Plus, you would also have to think. I mean, unless you are a very, very dumb team, if the very specific 49ers and Eagles are both giving up on a running back, like maybe the 2 most running back friendly offenses in the league, then this guy probably doesn't have it.
I'm going to ask you this, and I know that some Eagles fans might find this to be, I don't think sacrilegious is the word to say, blasphemous to say, because I know Boston Scott's like beloved among the fan base. But if your top 3 is, if you think Penny can be healthy or relatively healthy, if you think he can be healthy-ish going into the season, and your top 3 is Swift, Penny, and Gainwell in whatever order, what is persuading you or to keep Boston Scott over Trey Sermon?
I don't think that's a done deal. I think he has more guaranteed money, but that's not, that's not a huge problem. It's not a huge amount of money. Yeah, I mean, I think you could replace him as the kickoff returner. I think you can, you could convince me that Sermon has more upside. I just think Boston Scott's a better player right now. But I don't think that's sacrilegious. There was a run today where, they were a little bit further away. I was from the end zone, and I saw a running back make like a really nice move. And I was like, oh, who was that? Was that Sermon? Was that Rashad Penny? And it was Boston Scott. He's still got a little bit of juice. I mean,
hey, he's got more than a little. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about. I hear people say the return game. Talk about anchoring bias on my end. Rashad Penny was an amazing returner at San Diego State. I mean, 7 and not punt returns, kickoff returns. 7 kickoff return touchdowns, 30-yard average on returns, and says it's something he's always wanted to do in the NFL. He hasn't really done it. He needs to get back to his college weight, which he said he's trying to do. He's trying to get down to like 225. He's in the like 231 range right now. I think he was up in the mid to high 230s with the Seahawks. So he said if he gets to his college weight, it'll be better. But he's back there. I think he was second today in the pecking order for kickoff returns. So
look at you with the pecking. Nice job.
That was a unintentional one.
All right, Zach, we've got 4 down, 8 to go. You've
Okay.
used 3, 4, 5, and 11.
Yes. Let's go Jalen Hurts, number 1.
You're not going to like this one.
Okay.
And it's appropriate that you have your hand on your chest right now. Flight or long bill, the Eagles media corps was disrespectful to the national anthem on Sunday.
Why would we bring this up?
I told you weren't going to like it.
I specifically said I don't want to bring this up on the pod. I felt horribly.
So here's what happened. Why don't you explain what happened?
Yeah. Why don't you explain it? Because
Here's what happened. So Sunday was Military Appreciation Day, which is a great thing that the Eagles do every summer.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of military personnel at practice. You know, the Eagles wear the camouflage jerseys, which does make it difficult to see their numbers, but that's not the topic at hand at the moment. And the Eagles never play the national anthem before practice, ever. But on this day, Nick Sirianni was in the middle of his press conference and was talking when all of a sudden it sounded like the national anthem had started. And he kept talking, and the press conference continued. And then eventually he was like, I think we should. He asked the PR official whether we should stop. He stopped. He sat down, and then eventually he stood up. And Tim McManus has a video. The rest of the media corps is still sitting. What did you make of this awkward situation?
I felt horribly about it when I saw the video for a few reasons. Number one, so you got to understand. Well, no, look, bottom line, unacceptable. I should have stood up there.
I don't know
so
about
I'm going to take responsibility. But no, so for further context, our back is to what's going on. Okay,
Yes.
number one. So the video shows everyone standing up. Everyone there, everyone knows what's going on. Our back is to that. We can't see that. B, I have to say, during a press conference, when I say laser focus, undivided attention, I am only listening to the person there. All this stuff could be going because a lot of stuff goes around at practice. You know, there's
Sean Bradley's yelling at the top of his lungs.
Yeah. Like you learn to be laser focused. So I didn't even know anything was going on elsewhere. And also we're at games sometimes where there's like practice anthems, you know.
That's true. That does happen.
You get to the game 3 hours earlier. They do practice anthems. Practice hadn't even started yet. Like players weren't on the field. I had never been in this situation.
I have never seen the anthem played before practice before.
Yeah. So I felt horribly when I saw that video. I mean,
you could argue that playing the anthem on that day for practice was a little bit performative on the Eagles' part to begin with.
I'm not going there.
I mean, I think you're allowed. I think you're also, you're allowed to be respectful without standing.
Yeah.
Right. Like
the least I could have done is stand. I should have.
You could as long as you're silent and thinking. It doesn't have to be.
I should have had more situational awareness. Bottom line, and I take responsibility there.
Okay. I'm sorry that was. I had to get it in.
Okay.
We owe a responsibility to the listeners. One more.
By the way, I want to clarify something here. Okay. I see stuff in the comments. Please don't interpret anything on this podcast, one or the other, about any political leanings. We have a very strict, like Like the New York Times has a policy that we're not supposed to talk politics. Okay, so I purposefully don't talk politics on this podcast. Okay, yeah, but
directive as applying to me.
Yes, but I do, number one. And number two, and Bo and I actually thought a really good conversation in Miami last year in the car about this. I don't want to. I think these conversations are very nuanced, and I actually had an emailer this summer send me a really good email wanting me to kind of take more of a stand on some of these non-football issues, and the response that I gave was that I think these are very worthwhile discussions, but they're very nuanced discussions, and I don't think like the podcast is often an appropriate time to have those discussions. And I still kind of stand by that. So please don't interpret anything as like a political statement. I purposely don't go in that direction. And yes, someone says he's a company man. Very much so. I want to keep my job. I have a family of 4 here. I definitely want to keep my job. Yes.
And I would say, I mean, you're the listeners. You're free to interpret however you so choose.
Okay.
It's up to you. Okay. All right. One more before break, Zach. You've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12 on the board.
Let's go 12.
12. After practice today, as often happens, the players and coaches have their families there. You get to see the young babies. It's nice to see them all together. Nick Sirianni's family was there today. He was having a catch with the kids. And the Eagles' social media posted a video of Nick Sirianni having catch with his son, with the subtitle or the caption on Twitter: "Great coach, better dad." Flight or long bill, Nick Sirianni is a better dad than he is a coach.
I have no way of knowing that. I know Nick Sirianni loves his kids. I think he's a really good football coach. He's made the Super Bowl in the second season. I don't have enough information.
Where would you rank Nick Sirianni ballpark among NFL head coaches?
Top 10.
Top 10. Do you think he's a top 10 dad in the world?
I have no way of rating that. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a good dad. I think he's a loving dad.
He could be a great dad. He probably is a great dad.
This is your take, right?
He could be one of the 100,000 best dads in the world, and he would be in the 99.99 percentile of dads. There's no way he's a better dad than a better coach.
I don't know.
I mean, just on task, that's impossible.
Well, no, I think it's about making the time count more than anything else, and we've spoken to him in the past about if little subtle things he does to make sure that his kids have these connections with him. But
Jeffrey Lurie should be furious if he's a better dad than he is a coach.
I should. I'm definitely not saying that. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I also don't think having a catch with your son at a football practice is any indication of how you are as a father. Right? I mean, I think if you say to me what makes a good dad, I wouldn't say, "Oh, he has a catch with his son." I mean, it's like Roy Kinsella here, right? Or Ray Kinsella. I think there's. I think Nick's probably a wonderful father for reasons that have nothing to do with having a catch with his son.
Yeah, I'm willing to support that. I'm just saying, let's try to be accurate.
I think if that look, I'll say this: if that's your peccadillo with the Eagles social media team, then so be it.
Okay. All right, let's take a little break. We are halfway through the game that is sweeping the nation. Flight or long bill. We'll be back with part 2 on the other side.
Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. There's products for every occasion. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. And mobility is everything. When you wear Rhone's comfortable 4-way stretch fabric. It provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the product. It's that easy. And with their Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll smell fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I wear Rhone. I've worn it throughout the summer. It's comfortable and it has the mobility that I like. I can wear it when I'm hanging out on an afternoon or when I go out to dinner, and you look good and you feel good. You feel fresh all day when you wear it. The Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/BWF and use promo code BWF to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/BWF and use code BWF. It's time to find your quarter office comfort.
Back on Birds with Friends, Bo and Zach. Part 2, flight or long bill, right or wrong? Zach, you've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. No, sorry. 12 is off the board. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
2.
Not the best one. I told you we made a little car swap this week. You know,
I share all family business.
Our lease was coming up, so time to trade it in. You know, we put away our allegiance to Toyota. We're a Kia family now. But flight or long bill, 5.5 hours is too long to spend at a dealership.
Yeah, flight. You're right there. It's way too long, especially when so much can be done online now.
Too
right?
long. I try to like call ahead for this stuff. Well, it was the last day of the month, which traditionally you're like, oh, that's the day you go. You got a chance to get a good deal. Yeah. Well, apparently lots of people were thinking that, and so they like the accounting department was a little bit overrun. That was part of the deal. Also, we had a bit of a hiccup with the actual car. That I don't necessarily want to get into. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but could have been better. Very happy with the car. Shout out to Gerald, for hooking it up. But too long. We're like, what? Yeah. I got work to do.
Yeah. Was it just you, or was the whole family there?
No, just me. Yeah.
Okay.
God forbid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got transcribing to do. Come on. 5.5 hours. What are we doing?
Yeah, that is way too long there. That's one of those things where you gotta say, the customer has the leverage that you say, I want to make this as expeditious as possible, right? So
that's what I was hoping. I'm like, I didn't need to be sold on the car. I knew what I wanted.
Exactly.
Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we got that. That was a quick one. We didn't need to.
Well, Adam Mam says, did you tell them who you are?
Not like, do you know who I am? But he asked what I do, so we had a conversation about the job for a little bit. But that was that.
Have you ever said, "Do you know who I am"?
Not that I can think of. No. How about you?
No. Only one time I've ever said anything remotely close to that, and that's, you'll appreciate this. So I talk to students or aspiring young reporters a lot, and as I did this morning, and I was talking to someone one time, and it was one of those things where someone who says, "Oh, my son or my nephew, whatever it is interested in getting into this. Would you be willing to talk to them?" And I said, "Sure, no problem. Here's my cell. Have them call me." So this guy calls me, and he says, "So what do you do?" like what do I do? Like what are the terms? I was like,
how about do a little bit? Like,
I was like,
just baseline Google the person.
So that's what I said. I think I said, I'm sorry, do you read any of my stuff? Like what are the terms of this here? I'm talking to you here. I'm not trying to meet somebody,
What's your biggest weakness?
So so I was a little that's the only time I said, "Do you know who I am?" I kind of like stopped, and I was like, have you are you familiar with my work? I think I said that. Like,
Mhm.
like, why are we doing this? You know, and the
That's a
person
very
was
funny,
like,
"Do you know who I am?" like,
yeah.
synonymous
And I
phrase.
remember the person was like,
Are you familiar with my work?
no. So then, you know what the person's response was? I know you work for the Eagles. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I don't work for the Eagles. I
yeah.
write about the Eagles.
We
Yeah.
get that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
so you
that was,
must be an Eagles fan.
yeah. So that was the only time I ever pulled something remotely like that out.
Hmm. All right, Zach, you have eaten the bread. You've got just the 6 through 10 sandwich with which to deal
Okay.
now.
Let's go 7. Hassan Reddick.
7. So you're gonna like this because this is we've now gotten rid of most of the non-football topics. We're just on football basically. So Nakobe Dean, as you mentioned in the news report, suffered a little minor injury today. It seems like he'll be fine. He stayed and watched practice, gave Howie Roseman a little fist bump on his way back from the medical tent. But because the Eagles only have 6 off-ball linebackers on the entire roster, that led to a bit of a trickle-down shuffling in the linebacking core. And how it worked out was that for the most part, it was Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow with the first team defense. It was Ben Van Sumeren and Davion Taylor with the 3s. But with the 2s, we saw a bunch of different little combinations. We saw, now Sean Bradley was out there. We saw Kyron Johnson back to taking some off-ball linebacker reps. First time he's done that since the spring. We saw Terrell Edmonds moving up and taking some off-ball linebacker reps. This was not a 3 safety situation. This was him just lined up as a linebacker. And we saw the same with Nolan Smith for the first time taking off-ball linebacker reps. Now, flight or long bill, Zach, we will see Nolan Smith lined up as an off-ball linebacker this season.
Flight. Yeah, I think there's going to be a package or two where they want to get him on the field and they want to take advantage of the athleticism and the intelligence and use him in that way. Do you agree?
I do. I think it will probably be, very rare and sort of game plan specific, something that they're going to break out at some point. But I do think in service of trying to find a way to get him on the field, I think it is something that they will show, a handful of times. But I don't think that this is like Nolan Smith's going to move to off-ball linebacker. I think this is, like a special third down package or something like that. But it's
Yeah.
good, and it's good. It's fun practice to these things happen in games. You have to have backup plans. So even if it's like 3 reps, getting that is kind of nice.
And I think he can do it too.
Yeah, I guess he could. I feel. Here's what I would say: if you were asking me who's going to be a better off-ball linebacker in an emergency situation, I would rather have Terrell Edmonds there.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go with 9.
9. Some more depth charts shuffling. We had the conversation last podcast about Sidney Brown mostly being stuck with the 3s. He finally got a few reps with the 1s today, pairing with Reed Blankenship. Flight or long bill, Zach? Sidney Brown is making his move.
Can I abstain? I'm not there yet. I mean, I suppose there's a part of
you would have to say long bill then. You're saying he is not making his move, but
no, I think Sidney Brown's going to get there. I'm holding to that.
You're not
take.
saying he won't make his move at some point, but this is not him.
Not yet. No, I think that move is made. That move is made during the Cleveland joint practices. I think after the first preseason game. So the Ravens game is next Saturday. We should say that. Whereas Bo pointed out at the top of our notes, which are online now, the Eagles are 9 days out from their preseason opener.
What a lead
crazy
that was.
And so I think they come back, 2 days after the game, and all of a sudden there's some depth chart reshuffling. And that's when Sidney Brown is pushed up the depth chart, starts mixing in with the 1s a little more.
Yeah, here's what I would say. Just from watching Sidney Brown, it's not like he's made a ton of plays on the ball. I do think, just like you watch these guys move, he really moves like super athletically. He moves a little bit differently. He's a little bit short, but he can really jump. I think you sort of see it without knowing if he's seeing what he's supposed to be seeing, what his responsibilities are. I think you can see the traits for sure. And I do think that eventually it's going to be Blankenship and Sidney Jones. But
Sidney Brown.
Sidney Brown.
It'd be crazy with Sidney Jones.
That would be, maybe that's the trade they'll make.
Yeah.
But I think I do actually sort of think this is the beginning of that process. But I think I can buy that post Ravens is when we'll really see a lot more of it.
And then real quick, I haven't seen it yet. But shout out, I think the Eagles video department, not the team, not the football video side, the creative video side. I think they do an awesome job.
Fantastic.
With a lot of their material, and especially the unscripted material.
Shout out to Ray Doyle.
Yeah, based on both the access, the quality, the production value. It's all. And I've been getting a number of texts today about Sidney Brown on the latest unscripted. I think came out yesterday. He was house hunting or apartment hunting, whatever it may be. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to watching that. I'll probably watch it tonight, but. Yeah, I'll give a blind retweet, if you will, that they did a good job there.
He was asked today about the biggest adjustment. What do you think he said?
The biggest adjustment.
Classic rookie question. What's been the biggest change for you? What do you think he said?
The traffic.
No, not having his brother.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, of course, his twin brother Chase is on the Bears.
Cincinnati, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
He said, they talk every day, but he's always been going through it with his brother. So that's taking a little bit of getting used to. But he said you got to grow up. It's time to grow up, be a man.
I agree.
There you go. Okay, Zach, 6, 8, and 10. Where do you want to go?
Let's go 6.
6. This was a classic Zach moment that I just wanted to share with the listeners. That brought to mind. One of my favorite Birds with Friends moments when you said, Reading. Oh, that's where Ross Tucker's from. Whatever it was.
That was why assuming.
Why missing? Yeah, that was a great line. We were having a nice conversation in the middle of the beginning of practice. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was a, good, really 3 or 4 beat writers. When you stopped dead in your tracks, basically mid conversation. You looked off in the distance. You go, oh, there's Wendell Smallwood, which was great. So, flight or long, Bill, you're the only one in the world who would have that reaction.
No, Martin. Long Bill, Martin Frank. Yeah, Martin Frank was excited to tell me about it.
So I then found Martin. I later found Martin in practice, and I said to him, "How many people have already told you today that Wendell Smallwood's here?" He's like, "Wendell's here." So they had a nice little moment, him and Wendell.
Yeah.
Martin Frank, of course, the Delaware News Journal, was long on the Wendell Smallwood beat.
Yeah. A few dignitaries in the house today. Former Eagle Clay Harbor was in the house today.
Yes, and good. Now, Shield was at practice for some time. I didn't see him at the end. We didn't talk much, but he did note that I was wearing my Princeton football hat today.
I saw that.
And Clay Harbor was there. And Clay Harbor threw a little bit of shade at Andre Yoshivas in the pre-draft process. I should have gone up to him and give him a little piece of my mind. Said, I'm hearing great things about Andre from the Bengals beat reporters so far.
Well, you'll tell him that when you see him at the gym, right? You guys probably work out together.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Clay, I'm glad you got a nice body. Like, it's nice for you that you work out, the Bachelor and all that cool stuff. But like the shirt we're wearing today, that's like basically just a napkin. Like, get over yourself.
Hey, man, if you can pull it off, you should, right? Don't say get over yourself. If I pull that off,
DeAndre Swift's dad was there today, and I'll tell you what, if they go head to head, I'm taking DeAndre's dad all day long. 10 out of 10 times.
Well, I don't want to get in a fight with either one of them. By the way, you mentioned Princeton. I was there a few weeks ago. My allegiance is to Penn. I'll admit that. That's my Ivy League school. But Princeton, awesome downtown strip area, if you will.
Have any Penn graduates been indicted recently?
Awesome downtown area. I worked at a coffee shop right there on like the main street. I went to the library off of Paul Robeson Avenue or Boulevard or Street, whatever it is. It was very impressed with Princeton. Hadn't been there on the campus. I did like an apple picking one time. Don't get me started there nearby.
I think I've been to that place.
Yeah,
I like that
Terhune.
place. Yeah.
I mean,
Why I
on.
don't get you started?
This was like pre-kids. Okay, like apple picking with kids is fine. I'm giving up a college football Saturday to go apple picking. Come on. I mean, I really liked that way at the time. I did it.
But not anymore.
No. I love it. No, so I agreed to go there. But
back then, I really liked it. But...
No, I mean, like when you're dating, you're giving up a fall Saturday to go apple picking. Besides the point, but no, I hadn't been on campus since I covered something there when I was in college. I think I covered a lacrosse game when I was in college, and great campus. So
I like those Terhune orchards.
Yeah, look, with kids, it's a great activity. You know what I'm saying? Just a couple on a Saturday.
I mean, just got to see what you're willing to do.
October college football, that's a big deal.
It's not that big of a deal, though, honestly.
It is. It is. I've been trying to find college football games to go to with the Eagles' schedules.
What do you think Emily's thinking, though? In your courtship process, like you're working Sundays, you're working Monday to Friday. She's got one day to hang out with you. You're gonna be whining about college football.
That's her logic. That's what she said to me.
It's a beautiful fall Saturday. I got to worry about college football.
And you know what I'm saying is like, once the season's over, Saturdays and Sundays free, right? But during the season, come on. But I did it.
Third of the year.
I did it. I remember there was a big Michigan game that day, but I did it.
What a hero.
The things you do for love.
Give it up for Zach taking 4 hours out of a Saturday. All right, Zach. You're between.
We barely talked about practice today.
Well, yeah, you have saved. Okay. You've saved the number one takeaway from today's practice, which is still available. But
okay, let's go 8.
10. Let's go 8. This is the big one. The biggest depth chart change today, based on what we saw the first 4 practices, was with the second team offensive line. We had Tyler Steen moving from right guard to left tackle. He was taking left tackle reps today. We had Dennis Kelly at left guard after he was taking reps at left tackle and right tackle. We had Brett Toth at center where he's been, and he's had a lot of trouble snapping all camp long. We had Sua Opeta at right guard, moving from left guard, and Jack Driscoll back at right tackle after spending some time at left tackle. The big thing there is Steen, obviously. Mm-hmm. Flight or long bill, Zach, the right guard competition is over.
Long bill, but I think it's heavily weighted in Juergens' direction. But I do think they're getting Steen ready to play different spots.
I think it's over. I think it's done.
It's over.
I think it's done. Part of the reason I would say that is I think Cam Juergens, and this is going to be not a surprise to you, I think he's been really good so far. I think he pops a little bit in team drills, and in one-on-ones, he's been fantastic. Did a good job today. Fletcher Cox maybe a little bit got the better of him, but otherwise he's been very, very good. I think that's the only rep that he didn't decisively win. It's interesting, the Steen thing, because this is different than Jeff Stoutland's usual MO. You even think about a guy like Jack Driscoll, who was a 4th-round pick. Even he spent more time, majoring in one position before it was time to sort of start cross-training at other positions. Now, maybe they think that it's less of a deal for Steen because left tackle was the position he played in college. But I think for him to this quickly be taking in other positions, I think it's Cam Juergens' job. I think it's done and dusted.
I can see that. There's validity there, and I would make a strong bet that Juergens would be the guy. I just think that there's preseason games, there's joint practices, there's a handful of there's a big part of the sample size, if you will, to go here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but I think for all intents and purposes, it's over. And just to sort of cycle through.
Wait, but real quick there,
Go
before
ahead.
you do that, I do have a comment that I've been pining to make ever since you sent me the text that Steen is playing left tackle. Okay. We had
You're right about this.
a very spirited game this summer where I said I can play Steen at left tackle. And you opposed and you said our parameters were a position that they would reasonably play him at. And you gave your whole thing. Stoutland wouldn't play a rookie at 2 spots. And I said his natural position was tackle. He was a left tackle when they drafted him. They moved him to guard because they have a starting left tackle and they have a long-term need at guard. But he played guard at the Senior Bowl. I get that. But he was the starting left tackle for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I didn't think it was a stretch to have him as my left tackle. And you were like, and I deferred to you because you're the primary host here, but also because you are the resident offensive line expert, right? Like I mean, when it comes to other matters, I will put my foot down more. You are better with the offensive line than I am. I'm happy. I'm have the humility there to admit that. But as we go back to this game, I think that that changes everything if I could play Tyler Steen at left tackle.
I think you're absolutely right to bring it up. I'm proud of you for bringing it up and circling back. You're taking AJ's advice. That's good. All I can say is that you should have argued better. You should have fought harder.
Okay. All right, so you're saying it's
I'm sorry.
Been decided. It's been decided.
It wasn't done maliciously. I didn't think that they would play him at left tackle. I'm surprised by this. But you could have fought harder. What can I say?
I mean, it's like the Braves playing Vaughn Grissom at second base, right? Like I know you moved him to shortstop, but he's been a second baseman. So you're going to say just like that.
It's exactly like that.
Okay. Okay. All right, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the last thing I would say is I don't think it would have changed the outcome, but you're right. It wouldn't have made it would have made your offensive line look a lot better. Yeah. That's true.
All right, back to you.
No, I was just going to cycle through some of the O-line, D-line notes. Now you can read our practice report, which is up on the Athletic, little co-byline today that has a little bit more in depth there. But I think that the offensive line, the starting offensive line it's a little bit silly to say the starting offensive line because Kelsey didn't take any reps today. Lane Johnson took 1 rep, but the Dickersons and the Jurgenses and the Mailatas have all looked very good. In terms of like down roster guys who are popping, I don't know that there's a ton right now. I am eager to fall in love, and it is the heart has just not clung to anybody yet. And
go apple picking.
That's exactly right. That's only if you've already fallen in love.
Yeah.
If Elijah Riley shows up at my door because you want to go apple picking,
the next day, yes.
I'm in. Yeah, we can make some cider. It'll be great. Marlon Tuipulotu has looked pretty good. I think that he has the inside track for that 5th job. I think we said before I might have been leaning Kentavia Street. I would flip flop that now. I think Tui has been better. Nolan Smith does have some impressive rushes. He had a really nice push-pull move today. Now it was against Trevor Reed, so you take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But Reed had actually done a good job against him before. He is who you would sort of expect to be the most fun guy to watch right now on those, but he has delivered. Jalen Carter, I think, has actually been a little bit disappointing in a one-on-one perspective. We're talking about like 5 reps, and he did have 1 really good rep today, which was the first one I've seen from him. But just in terms of what you would expect from this guy who was, the consensus top 2 talent in the draft, a minor disappointment so far. What else am I thinking? Janarius Robinson is an interesting guy. He's got he's sort of like a flash and then just be entirely invisible. He's had a bunch of bat downs over the course of camp because he's got those long levers, and he had a nice spin move today, I believe, against Roderick Johnson. But otherwise, sometimes he sort of disappears. I'm curious to see how that.
On Florida State there.
That's right.
Florida State. Yeah.
And I actually thought Moro Ojimo, this was his best day of practice that I've seen from him. He had a couple nice reps. One of them against Dennis Kelly, 72 on 72 crime. So,
should I give a few practice notes from the
Sure.
field I was watching, or is that in the last?
no,
Question?
go ahead.
Okay. So we talked about down the depth chart. Patrick Johnson had a really nice play that would have been a sack and a potential strip sack, and it was with the first team defense. And he came around. It was one of those things where he sneaks behind the quarterback. And Patrick Johnson's been with the team for 2 years. He's played, like, this isn't a guy who's inactive. He's played a few hundred snaps during these 2 seasons. The Eagles added Nolan Smith. We're operating, at least now, under the assumption that Derek Barnett's going to be on the team this year. We'll see what happens there. But the Eagles have, if Barnett's on the team, they have 5 edge rushers as it is, right? So you're already deep there. Then the 6th, you're thinking Patrick Johnson, who's been with the team, Janarius Robinson, who they carried last year. So that's going to be a real interesting competition to watch. Josh Sweat had a good day. He has a good day every day, though. That's to be expected. Dallas Goedert is someone who, like, he's so consistent. He's playing so well. And he made a catch in the middle of the field today that jumped out, but he had a few catches. I saw 88 in my notes a few times in there. Keely Ringo had a play late in practice.
Great play.
Yeah. The best play Keely's had so far. I mean, I don't want to make too big a deal of it because it's one play here, right? But it was it was with the first team.
Well,
So,
yeah, it was a great.
Yeah.
This was the first team offense against the second team defense.
Yeah.
It was a 3rd and goal from the 10-yard line. It was one of those ones. Usually at the end of a session, at the end of a period, Sirianni will call out a specific situation, and oftentimes it is down by the goal line. And so it was the 2s, and I don't know if Ringo was in because they were sort of giving him a shot, or if it was a trickle down of the James Bradbury
from Bradbury.
injury.
Yeah.
But he was in, and he was covering DeVonta Smith, and it's Jalen Hurts throwing to DeVonta Smith, and DeVonta runs sort of an out route, sort of towards the front pylon, and Ringo broke on it before DeVonta was out of his break and got both hands on it near interception. Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown an interception all camp long.
Yeah.
I had a really good vantage point of it. It was a really, really nice play from Ringo, and I have thought that he has been a touch disappointing so far. That was a really nice flash from him, I thought.
Well said. So those are some notes from practice today.
Okay, those were good. All right, last one, number 10, Zach. One thing that I don't know that we have touched on is your boy Jordan Davis. From what we've seen so far, now, Jalen Carter has not been playing with the ones for the most part, but when the Eagles are in those even fronts, just 4 down linemen, it has been Jordan Davis with Fletcher Cox, not Milton Williams or Jalen Carter. Flight or long bill, Jordan Davis will play that role this year. He will be the starting defensive tackle opposite Fletcher Cox in even fronts, and will not be just a nose tackle.
I don't think he will be just a nose tackle. But as far as the start, yeah, I think he might start the season that way. I think Jalen Carter is eventually playing that role. So I guess I'm in the middle there because I think it's Flight that he will be a defensive tackle in a 4-man front. He's not just a nose tackle this year. But I think eventually Jalen Carter is the starter.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably right. But listen, they're going to need guys to rotate there anyway. And so even if it's Davis with Milton Williams, when it's not Cox and Carter, that's a step up in terms of his role. And I think that you're probably right. I mean, the second year for a guy who was drafted 13th overall, you want him on the field. You don't want him, consigned to just being the nose tackle. So I think he will have those opportunities this year. All right.
I have a quick question for the audience here because I felt really bad about this, but I want to know if I was in the wrong. I mean, it was a clear misunderstanding, but I want to know if I was in the wrong here or if my interpretation was correct. Okay. And Bo knows where I'm going with this. So Bo and I alternate notes every day. Okay. Practice observations. Bo goes one day, I go to the next. Bo and I flip-flopped Sunday, Tuesday. Okay. So
I did the first practice. You did the second
Yes.
practice. We
Yes.
flip-flopped then. So you did the third practice. I did the fourth practice, which was the
Yes.
last practice.
Yes. So you show up to the 5th practice. Would you think that Bo is doing the notes or I'm doing the notes? Quick, I'll give 10 seconds here for the live audience here. The 5th day, would you think that and Bo did it the last one, but it's the 5th day here. What do you think it is? Do you think I do it or do you think Bo would do it? Doesn't look like we're getting any responses here.
I think I don't harbor any ill will about this. I think it was
I
just
felt bad.
it was just a miscommunication.
Yeah.
I think what complicates things here that you have not said is that you said, because we had a practice today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you asked if I had any preference. I said no. And you said you have something tomorrow afternoon. So you want me to take tomorrow. So knowing
and
that
I said and I would take Sunday. I said.
Right. So
yeah.
Then it seems obvious to me that you would then take today, that we would continue to just rotate.
No, so I think that so I thought we were going back to the like even odd schedule, if you will, right? Like, okay, Bo and I alternate.
Yeah, I just
Sunday,
assume
Tuesday.
anytime you switch, I assume we just continue to then.
Yeah, so so it's like so that was so I was.
I mean, it's like anything where once you have something in your head, you don't really question it. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the thing. So then I was like, all right, Bo will do Thursday, Friday, and then I will do Sunday. All right. That's
But that would mean I was doing 3 in a row.
Yes, but over 7 practices, that would mean you did 4 and I did 3.
Right. But that's not.
Yeah.
It would also mean over 6 practices, I'm doing 4 and you're doing 2.
Okay. True. Okay. Fair. I figured, all right, we're back to the schedule, but then we're switching. Basically, I'm doing Sunday, you're doing Friday, right?
No harm, no foul. We both watched practice intently. We were able to split it up after the fact. No big deal.
So it was a funny scene though, and I'm getting up ready to
You're
leave.
Backing up
I'm
like
both you anything for me. Yeah.
I just typed up one-on-one notes. I was about to email you.
And I'm like, wait, you're not doing it? And I'm like, oh shoot. Yeah. So
and the media house is like, oh, trouble in paradise.
But my wife was like, I say my wife, Emily, people in the pod know
your
her
former
now.
girlfriend, people remember from the apple picking story.
Yeah. She was like, what's the holdup? Because typically she knows we have the podcast at 3 and I tried, I'm eating lunch at home now. Okay. So I would get home for lunch and I was like, sorry, there was a miscommunication. Let me call you on my way home. And I called her and I explained the situation. And she was like, oh, it would be your day if Bo went last time. And I was like, no, you have to think about it in the entire scope of my head.
I got to promise you, I am not thinking about it in the entire scope. I am thinking only of who did it last.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Unless we've communicated ahead of time.
That was the story.
But
and by the way,
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, Jeffrey Norris says lunch at home flex. the lunch that comes at NovaCare, it's very nice that they're supplying lunch. I'm trying to be on the healthier side during camp. I've made a pledge to myself, because if I consume the pizza that they're giving us every day, then I would not fulfill my obligation. So I grill chicken at the beginning of the week, and I keep that in the fridge, and that's my lunch for the week.
You grill chicken to prepare for grilling coaches.
There you go.
Yeah, we made it happen. We made it work.
Okay. Yeah. You can check that out on The Athletic.
That's right. Which is a subsidiary of the New York Times.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. We will be back tomorrow, Friday afternoon, probably at 3:00 again. So for Zach and Kent and Wendell, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.